Should women ask a man out? Is it okay to ask a man out? How do men really feel about this? Thank you so much for tuning in to Second Act TV. Once again, I want to welcome back Robert Manni, the author of The Guy's Guide to Love and host of Guy's Guide Radio and TV. Robert, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you, Silka.
We have a fun discussion today. Should women ask a man out? Is it okay to ask a man out? There is so much written on this, and actually, I just did a segment with Sandy on that. She's a big proponent that absolutely, especially in this day and age, of course, a woman can ask a man out, even should, and we have some great reasons for that. Then I started reading about it some more, and I was just dumbfounded by how much advice is out there that women should never ask a man out. And that comes from some well-known dating coaches. How do men really feel about this?
Well, it's a slippery slope. Of course, in today's day and age, it certainly should be okay for women to ask men out. Yet I will bet with the dating experts, the guys, they probably said that it's probably not a good idea.
Right.
There's two sides to the coin. One side is this: you're a woman and the guy's just not coming around to ask you about. You think he's interested. Maybe he has some baggage or this or that, and you need to like kind of spur him along.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to, yeah, ask him out. But there are ways of asking somebody out without asking them out. How about, hey, a bunch of us are getting together and we're going hiking on Thursday. You want to come along? So there's ways of getting the guy's attention and asking them out without asking them out officially on a date, like, hey, I want to take you to dinner. You're letting the guy know that you're available. And some guys will take advantage of that because of how hard men have had to work to get dates with women. And so they think, oh, okay, this is easy. She wants me. I don't have to treat her that well. I don't have to chase. The other part of the coin is I think there is something to be said by the fact that women want to be chased a little bit by men, and men should do some chasing. I think it's healthy that they should do some pursuing.
Well, what I thought was so interesting about this whole discussion, while women believe that it's okay, or a lot of women, based on my segment with Sandy, believe that absolutely we should, go out or ask men out, and that men, the initial response is, well, yeah, of course, have them ask, yeah, bring it on. I'd be
Exactly.
glad if a woman asked me out, but as it goes further down, that eventually the men don't respect a woman who asked them out. That came across so strong because the traditional roles were violated there. And I think that's one thing that I really want to talk about in this segment. Do you find any truth in that?
Yeah, I think there's some truth in it. I don't know if it has to be that, I don't like the word traditional role, but I think women like to feel good that the man's doing some pursuing and saying, hey, I really want to get to know you. I think that's a good feeling. I think women deserve that also. And I think it's also healthy for guys to have to go out and do some hunting out there. I think that's a healthy thing. On the other hand, if you're a woman and you've been around and you see a guy and you're interested, you don't want to just let him, you don't want to sit there and wait. So there's ways of communicating to get the guy's attention. Now, guys aren't the best at picking up signals. Sometimes you'll be in a bar or something and a woman's staring at you and you're thinking, she's staring at me because she's interested in me, or do I have something on my shirt or whatever? Guys are not great at picking up on the signals. Is she smiling? Does that mean come over? Is it somebody over here? So sometimes you have to be more overt if you're a woman to let the guy know you're interested. You can do that without saying, hey, I want to take you out to dinner. You can say, hey, my friend gave me some tickets to the Dodgers game, and I don't know that much about baseball. Are you a baseball fan? Yeah, I am. Would you come to the game? They're great box seats and everything. I mean, that's a way you've asked them out, but you haven't asked them out really.
Yeah, well, you brought up a good point, and the difference between asking somebody out in real life, IRL, or online. I think the consensus here with what I read was that online the behavior is different. One, you're on a dating site, And yeah, so you don't waste a whole bunch of time. Women should absolutely make the first move. In fact, I think there was a classification, it's zero dates, that if a woman initiates a get together online, it's not even considered a date. A date is once you meet and somebody asks the other person out. I thought that was interesting too. It came across very, very strongly, like you said, that you would never say, hey, you want to go out with me. What I wanted to ask you in that regard is, because I thought about this, I asked myself, I was going to ask Paul, would you think it's just totally weird if somebody came up to you and said, hey, do you want to go out with me? Would you just like, what's wrong with that? Or what's wrong with that woman?
The guy has to be a pretty together guy to not take advantage of that, to be like, say, okay, hey, I really respect that. She's telling me where she's at, and she's got a lot of maybe she's got a lot of self-confidence that she'll put herself out there. And maybe that's something I need to do. And wow, am I man enough to deal with somebody like that? They could take it that way. They could say, wow, she's pretty desperate. She's actually asking me out
Yeah.
instead of letting me do what I want to do. Because there are a lot of guys, call it old fashioned or whatever, or traditional, that they want to be the ones to initiate things. Now, I think a lot of the younger guys, they've been accustomed to doing more things online and like laying back and hanging out and letting the women come to them, and not, this is not a date, and hanging out's not dating, and not doing anything official. And what happens is, because women have now been, receiving their long overdue recognition in the workplace, and are in the type A type positions and mindset where they have to really be on it at work, that sometimes they don't turn it off afterwards, and they're making all the decisions, and the guy will
Mm-hmm.
just lay back and say, why do I even bother? She's going to know what she wants to do anyhow. And that actually turns into what can be a resentful type of situation, where the woman wants to be a guy in the best sense of the word, but she has to let the guy be the guy, and the guy has to step up and say, I want to be the guy, and this is what I'm going to do to be the guy, but she's got to
Mm-hmm.
let me be the guy. So there's
Yeah.
all these little subtleties and all this little game playing that's going on. I always think that honesty is the best policy. And it's easier if the guy just goes after a woman and says, hey, you like sushi, right? I know this new place. You want to go? Boom. That, just put it out there.
Yeah.
And if a woman's waiting for the guy, she can say, hey, I'm going to this place, and, maybe you want to come along. We'll just grab an appetizer or something. But
Mm-hmm.
keep it, I think if the woman's doing the asking, she needs to keep it light.
I think what comes up here too, and it's come up in these articles that I read, is the question that, is he just not into you if he hasn't asked you out yet? Meaning that if you are hanging around with someone or in a group, like as you described, and he's flirting or somebody's flirting with you, but just never asked you out, is that where you should make the first move? And one of the big things here is that no, that men, if they want to ask you out, they would.
That could very well be true. He might be just flirting, and maybe he's interested, and maybe he's in a lousy relationship, and he's not sure, what's the right thing to do and how to get out of it. And if you want to help things along, set up something with him. If you feel comfortable in that you want to be with this guy enough that you don't, or find out what his situation is, and then take it from there. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot of fact finding that has to be done to find out, is he available? Is he in a relationship? Is he interested in me? Or is he just like waiting around for me to ask him out? Or is he not interested and he's just not that into me? So I think you
Mm-hmm.
got to ferret out all that stuff before making a determination. But the simple answer would be, if he's interested, if he wants something, he's going to go after it. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
guys do. Hopefully,
Yeah.
that they're interested, they go after
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and this segment is, advice for women, that if you have been the guy who or not with the guy, but hanging around as friends, whatever, in groups, you see him and he's constantly flirting or being very friendly, men sometimes, or often perhaps, send wrong messages.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some reasons for that. In fact, they outline some of this here. I love the title, the brutal truth, why you should never ask a guy out. Because as you said, there's reasons he's not, and not necessarily just because he's not into you. He could be married. He could have a steady girlfriend here. He doesn't want to date or get into a relationship right now. I mean, there's all kinds of really good reasons, including boosting his own ego. And
Mm,
they say,
yeah,
ask yourself, a man like that who doesn't mind flirting, who approaches you all the time, why wouldn't he ask you out if he was interested?
right. And to the one point you made about, he's just not interested in dating right now. Well, if he's
Mhm.
single and he's not interested in dating, is he
Mhm.
interested in women?
Yeah.
What guy isn't interested in dating if he's not dating anybody? I mean, just
Mhm.
the companionship of whoever he's attracted to, whether it's a woman or a guy or whatever, it doesn't matter. But this is how people roll, right?
Mhm.
You find partners and whatever happens, happens. So you would think there's got to be some type of, it's not like, oh, I'm not dating right now. I mean, if they came off of a really tough relationship, I could see taking a time out. But, after that, everybody wants to, I think, from a guy's standpoint, you want to get busy in some way or another, that get yourself back out there, have some
Mhm.
fun or have some female companionship or whatever.
Mhm.
That it's not like I'm off limits right now.
Well,
Guys don't
if
do that.
yeah, I mean that's a form of saying no or rejected. He's not interested.
Exactly.
And I'm not dating right
Yes.
now. That you might as well
Right.
take that. I think what I found so interesting in this whole topic is the rationalization that this brings on by women, especially. Because we're told that now we can. We should go do this. Blah blah blah, and by men who say, yeah, absolutely, I'd love it, that it's flattering, bring it on. But do they really mean it when they think about it? And I kept coming back to that when on one article where he basically said, yeah, that men love it, they'll say they love it, but ultimately it's not going to last because they won't respect you.
Well, every situation is different. I think if the guy's really cool and he has his act together, he can handle it. And he's not going to take advantage of you if you ask him out. So that can happen. It has to be the right guy, and I would say the odds on that are less than 50%. Because
Mm-hmm.
most guys will ultimately take it like, oh, she digs me. I don't have to treat her that well. She'll be there because she's already asked me out. It's like, because guys usually traditionally have had to work to get the dates and stuff. That if a woman's kind of going to them, they're like, I got her. I don't have to even work with her. I'll
Mm-hmm.
work on the one who's the one who might get away.
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope. You can't wait around forever if you're interested in a guy, but maybe there's a reason why he hasn't made a move. I think that's the main thing to figure out. Why hasn't he made a move on me if he's available and he finds me attractive? Well, I don't have the answer for that, except he's not that into you.
I agree, and I think, and my first reaction, like when I did the segment with Sandy, is well, absolutely. Why shouldn't women ask men out? There's here's the benefits. Here's how you do it. And that's great. But I'm pulling back a little bit on that. Like I said, I was flabbergasted by all the stuff. No, don't do this. But I do agree, that you can create situations where you persuade or make it much easier to ask a
Yes.
man out, and that's perhaps what we need to concentrate on.
I think what you need to do if you're a woman is do the fact finding, ferret out what is his situation, and then if you really want, figure like I gotta make a move or to find out, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like waiting. Then there's a way, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, is there's a way of asking a guy out without asking him out. Come up with some convenient activity that maybe even if there's other people around that you can do together, and then you kind of peel off and you can kind of get to know the guy better, and then you can see if there's some type of sizzle going on there, some
Mm-hmm.
type of sparkles.
Now, they do say, and I'll add one more point, is that when you should ask a man out is if he is in fact shy, if you could somehow establish that this is just a very, introverted person who's a wonderful person, but is just not likely to ask. That in that case, it's a great way, because otherwise he would never ask you out. But having said that, again, more
Would you
often
ask,
than
would you want to go out with a guy like that? I mean,
what.
that's the question. If you're a woman, you have to say, if this guy doesn't have the cojones to ask me
Yeah,
out, do I want to be with a guy like that? And maybe he
yeah,
could just be shy. You don't think of it that way. I'm
yeah.
being old school, okay? But you have to ask yourself, why isn't he asking me out? I have to ask him out. What's going to happen in the relationship then?
That is such, yeah, that is such a great point. It really is. While we rationalize,
That's right.
why he hasn't asked me out because of this and because of that, we wouldn't want to date them if those were the reason. I guess the bottom line, I don't know. I can't wait to hear the comments on this and what your experience has been and what you would recommend, on this,
Yep.
well, this volatile topic.
It's a
So
good one.
no, it is. It really is. So honestly, Robert, nothing goes on in your head when a woman, I mean, this is just okay.
Underneath it all, and to be honest, and this is the brutal truth, that the guy's going to think like, I can get her in bed. She
Mm-hmm.
asked me out. She's willing to go to bed with me. Some guys are going to think that way. I'm not going to say it's the right thing to think, but this is how a lot of guys, that's how we're wired. We're going to think, this is easy. I can get laid here. And it's not a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
wired in underneath thinking like, oh, she asked me out. That means she's already said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a good thing for you, for the women, because you deserve better, because you're actually stepping up. You're doing what the guy should do. You're stepping up and asking him out,
Mm-hmm.
and he's thinking, hey, she'll go to bed with me.
I so agree. And that's, again, I was shocked to some extent that this was so prevalent because that's basically what a lot of the guys said as well. That if a woman asked me out, I just, I think she's easy.
Yeah,
So it's the initial reaction. Yeah, yeah. Like
easy
I
for
said,
me. It's,
yeah.
it's not it's not necessarily easy that
Mm-hmm.
she's trampy. It's like easy for me. She's
Mm-hmm.
already basically she's asked me out. That means she's already gone through the machinations mentally that I would go to bed with this guy. Otherwise, why would I ask him out? That's how a guy would think. I'm not saying that's right or
Mm-hmm.
wrong. I'm just saying like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of guys will process it that way.
Well, again, I look forward to the comments on this because all the literature I pulled here, this is younger people. This is one 50-year old
Right.
or more that wrote this. These were younger people. So I don't
Well,
know, lots to think about as usual. Well, Robert, thank you again for being here. I always appreciate your time. I love these conversations. And as always, I will link to all of your information, the Guy's Guide to Love, your book that makes a wonderful present. Put that on your list. And all the links to your radio show and YouTube channel, Guys Radio and TV, right here. And of course, UK Health Radio. You're like all over the place.
I
So
am.
do check all the links below. And I look forward to having you back again soon on Second Act TV.
Thank you, Silka.